Thank you for listening to the WTAL podcast session. The owner and coach of the WTAL coaching practice, Tony Deemer, has a bachelor's degree in psychology. It is an art therapeutic practitioner. He is also certified in life coaching, being a personal trainer through the IAP program, and is a national yoga instructor/teacher through the Yoga Renewal Program. The WTAL coaching practice believes that communication, expression, and meditation is a proven formula to help guide clients looking for a more positive viewpoint of life and possibly limit the amount of anxiety that is part of daily life. We thank you for listening to the WTAL podcast session and hope you enjoy the journey, the information, and the experience we plan on passing on to our listeners and onto our clients. Thank you. Hey everyone, thank you for listening to the WTAL podcast sessions. This is Thursday, and this is our new episode, obviously. I gotta stop doing a lot of these ums. I'm still learning as I'm going along here, and one of the things I have been learning is not to use certain things like and too much delay in between what I'm saying something and when I'm doing something. So, there it is. Today's podcast session is going to be about commitment and reliability. If you're going to really dedicate yourself to something, now look, before I even go any further on that, I am going to do my very best not be biased because I also don't want to be hypocritical. When I'm about to say this, I know that I've done it. I've been unable to finish a commitment and take responsibility for it at some point in my life. Everyone does. There's no doubt about it. So when I say this, it's the idea of growing as well. I've grown into the idea of my commitments and to be reliable and responsible for my actions. When I tell someone something, I want to make sure that when I tell them that it's going to be finished. It's my promise. And one of the things about promises are just words. Actions are always going to speak more than words. When I tell someone I promise I'm going to be there, that means that I made that promise. That means that I'm going to do it. I may not complete it. I may fail at it. But when I promise you something like I promise I'm going to do the dishes, especially to your partner, whether they're overwhelmed or not, or they're just like, this, I'm getting tired of doing the dishes. It's your turn to do them, everything like that. And you make a promise to do them. You better do them. I mean, I've done it. I've broken that promise. Well, all intention on doing it, something just came up, or I forgot, or I'm not doing it fast enough, and my partner, in my case, Deb, she'll do it. She'll just get up and do it. And I tell her, I told you I was going to do it. She was like, well, I'm just wanting to do it to keep myself busy. Got something on my mind, stuff like that. Okay, well, I told you I was going to do it, but then I feel bad. If you're going to make a commitment to something, like, okay, in my case, not just this podcast, but my schooling and more or less my jobs, I'm committed to completing them. I'm committed to making sure I do my very best to complete that obligation. If I tell you I'm going to have this podcast up by Thursday, I'm going to do my very best to have this podcast up by Thursday. Even if it means I'm taking some of my own personal time to complete it, which I always do. But in this case, it's a commitment. I've committed myself on doing this at least every Thursday, at the latest every other Thursday. So every 2 weeks at the latest. Do I get sidetracked? Do I get distracted? Do I fall behind? Yes. Will I fail? There is no doubt I'm going to fail putting this up at least one Thursday or every other Thursday. It's going to happen. But I'd rather have failed and not tried at all, because if I'm just sitting around saying, I know I told people this, I know I told people that, but you want to know something? It's nothing for me to be concerned about. Look, I don't have a lot of followers. I got a handful of followers. I have a little bit of people that are committed to listening to follow me along because they're my friends or whatever the situation may be, where they're just like, hey, we're going to support you. Great. I thank you. Please pass it on. Send this out. I want more listeners. But if I'm not committed on doing it, I'm not being reliable either or responsible. I'm not being responsible towards my listeners that are trying to help me out and my friends that are willing to pass this on and take their time to listen to it and encourage me. So that's the first part of all this. Now, this is just the introduction for the rest of this podcast for the next 30, 40 minutes, where I'm going to try to explain how rude it is, or even the idea of don't make promises that you really know you're not going to keep. Because when you make a promise and you break it, what you're doing is you're breaking trust. Not only trust, but the idea of perspective of if someone needed you and you already made a couple promises and you know you didn't keep them, they're never going to ask you to do anything again. And maybe that is for the best for you, but for the person that asked you, it's the idea of, man, I really thought I could depend on this person. I thought they were like my friend, and when they tell me something, I want to be able to trust them with that. So your promises are, you're not being responsible for what your actions are. It's just, how can I say it? It's all right. Well, I guess the best way to say it, you're being an asshole. You know, I'm going to try to be as honest on this podcast as possible, and I want to be very open. And hopefully, I get to a point where I get so open that I don't feel like I have to think about the things I'm going to say. But if you make a promise and you intentionally do not keep it, which hopefully you don't do, and something comes up, or you're just like, hey, this was something unexpected. I can't keep my promise. I can't keep the word I wanted to give you, but I will do my best to work that out. Or what else can I do for you to prove to you that I didn't try to lie to you and I'm just being lazy, or I just being a procrastinator, or anything like that. So be responsible for that word, but then commit to it. Be a committed person. If you say you're going to do something, stop making excuses and do it. And again, look, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to try to bullshit you that there is no doubt that I've done it. I, I'm barely doing it now. Like being able to keep my commitment and my promises to the people that are listening and watching this. It's what, 10:20 on a Thursday morning, and I'm now just starting this because work and, my other commitments towards my practice with my life coaching, school's really the biggest one. I'm putting like 200 hours of work in every 10 weeks to finish my commitment to my research papers. So that's the point of this whole thing. And with that, I'll get into the idea of, as a life coach, I try to hold my clients responsible for their actions. If we come up with a goal, I try to tell them, like, okay, so here's a goal. Let's attempt to do it. But I can't hold your hand through that. I have to work with you. But if you're not committed to it or going to be responsible for what has to be done, there's nothing I can do. But what it does is shows that you're not really committed to listening to the guidance I'm really willing to give. Um, and then on that, that's the professional part for me. I have to make sure that I my clients are doing what they're hiring me to do. If you're hiring me to, one, for the wellness, do a yoga session with you, or do a wellness session on a physical aspect, or even a meditation session where, you know, I have to, not have to, I need to spend some time with you meditating in order for you to be able to focus, I have to commit to that. I have to keep my promise that I'm doing it. Now, I'll give a perfect example. Last night, I was supposed to have a meditation session with a friend of mine, and she's not a client, But because I've known her so long, I was willing, more than willing. I wanted to help her because she reached out, but I was unable to do it last night. And I had to message her and say, hey, look, I'm unable to do this tonight. Something else has come up. And hopefully you understand, but I want to make sure you're good. And I told her, like, continue doing what we were doing. Do your root chakra. Let's go one step at a time. Let's try that. And so far, it's been fine. But I had to make sure that I had to keep my commitments as well towards my clients, especially. Now, it isn't that this uh, person isn't a client, because she's not, but that doesn't excuse why I'm unable to keep my commitment and my promises and be responsible for what I say and do. There's always consequences with everything. All right. This is probably going to end up being repeated, so just kind of follow along with me. You you say something to someone, there's going to be a consequence. You physically do something to someone, there's going to be a consequence. I can tell you right now, you put your hands on me without my permission and think you're going to get away with it, you're not. If you tell me I'm a racist or I'm a hip, like whatever with this whole fucking generation gap of everything right now, you're going to hear me say something. You can call me any name you want. You can call me whatever, but I know who I am and my friends know who I am. And you don't know me in order to judge me. I wouldn't do that to you. Unless I know your background and some kind of information, or I've seen and witnessed what kind of asshole you're being, I don't give a shit who you are. I really don't. But if you come to me and you talk to me and you ask me something, I'm going to commit myself to listening to you. And if you ask me for help, I will do my very best to keep my word on helping you, as long as you're willing to keep your commitment to me and kind of follow along what I'm trying to do. Now, you can talk to me all day. I'll listen and I'll give advice. And another example would be, just the other day, I had one of my clients, and it came down to another, I don't want to say epiphany because it just seems like it's a big word, or not a big word, but a powerful word, that this person was being conditioned to believe something because it was routine and it wasn't true. People convinced her that there was something wrong with her actions when it wasn't, when she was just trying to do her best. And she got so used to people telling her, no, it's wrong and this and that it became conditioned. And then when the one person in her life validated her, she got so used to that she couldn't walk away from that person. She was committed and the other person wasn't. She was trying to keep her word while the other person wasn't. And she couldn't walk away because she felt like this was the only person that was giving her what she needed, even though there was more to it than that. So what we're going to do right here, I'm going to take a few minutes break, about 30 seconds to a minute, nothing more. So there I go again. I was trying to keep the ums and everything out of there. So we're going to take a break and listen to the commercial that's sponsoring this episode and this section, and we'll go from there. All right, thanks.
You can now connect to the EOTB Eye of the Beholder website to get original art by Coach Tony D, the Red Bubble Art Store, and Now Connected, and now you can own an original art piece on multiple products, including shirts, phone and iPad covers, pet blankets, even bed covers. The EOTB is a proud sponsor of the Wellness Therapeutic Art Life Coaching practice. Together, we help promote and fund the future of therapeutics in a positive way. With your help, the EOTB and the WTAL coaching practice will expand to help guide those that are looking for a more positive way of taking control of their life. Scan the promo code or go to the www.wtalcoach.com and click on the embedded EOTB site. The owner of the EOTB and the WTAL coaching practice, Coach Tony, thank you for your support.
once again, thank you for listening to the WTAL podcast sessions. And today we're talking about commitment. When I say commitment, let's get it right, because when I say commitment, I'm talking more or less about accountability. Um, Responsibility is reliability. There's so many words and ways to talk about how someone should act, not just personally, but professionally, and how we should really try our very best to not just hold other people responsible, but make sure overall you hold yourself responsible. So I started out saying commitment and responsibility when I really wanted to go to accountability and reliability. There's the same things in a more or less, but it comes down to terminology. Excuse me. It comes down to the terminology. Um, I just want to give a brief reading here. One of the things I do is, besides going to my school library, the SNHU, Southern New Hampshire University Shapiro Library, for my references and my citations and everything like that, I also use Google Scholar. It's a very great site that I use for my research papers to kind of give me a guidance on what should be done. So one of the things I want to just say here, I'm going to read this word for word, more or less. Maybe just change a word or two so it doesn't seem so section like focused. Uh, it, so accountability, commitment, reliability. It refers to the ability to take ownership of one's responsibilities and actions, and to be answerable for them, whether they are positive or negative. When an individual or are accountable, they are more likely to be reliable, trustworthy, and committed to their actions. Now, there's a few words in there that I changed, but it more or less comes out to the same thing. It's the idea of reliability, trustworthy, and commitment. Um, when it comes to me personally, so let's try to get right into first the coaching section of this. What I have to do is always make sure scheduling, what our goal is. Are we going to meet somewhere? Am I coming to them? Excuse me. Am I going to them? Are they coming to my office? Are we going to do this online? Anything like that. I have to make sure that I have reliability in that. Not on my part. I have to make sure that I'm scheduling this in the right way. And that not only am I scheduling it, but I'm going to be committed to it. And if something else comes up after that, that I will have to reschedule, or, and I hate to do that because I really hate rescheduling, because then it just snowballs. Reschedule, or the action, the responsibility that came up after my appointment has to be moved. It's business. It's the idea of taking action. This is nothing new for anyone who's an adult. We know that we have to schedule our lives. We have to say, okay, when I get up in the morning, I'm going to either have breakfast, coffee, or I'm just going to go straight to work. Most of the time, it's coffee and going straight to work. For me, with me going having so much going on, I have to make sure that when I make that commitment and put it on a schedule, that my client trusts me to get this done, because their life is revolving around me, our work, I should say. And my life and my work, mostly my life, is scheduled around their commitment. I've already had clients that have, I want to say, ghosted, to be honest with you. I've had clients ghost me. Like, they paid me. We're ready to do this. Let's do it. And then all of a sudden they're gone. Like, they disappeared. I'm reaching out to them. I'm texting them. I'm calling them. Some things happen. I don't know. I'm not getting any information. So I have to kind of like, okay, well, I'm not getting anything. I'm going to give them that one notice and say I'm going to move on. Now, for those first couple times, I'm kind of waiting around for 45 minutes to an hour, hoping they're going to reach back to me. So now my entire life has changed, for that day at least. Now, I could have been working on my homework. I could have been working on my research paper. I could have spent time with Deb or my girlfriend. My girlfriend's name is Deb. Or maybe even being out on the bike with her and enjoying some time with friends. So there's the commitment that they no longer were doing, but they weren't reliable on their word. So when I do this, I always try to keep it a little open area of at least 30, 45 minutes of, okay, they may be late, they may be running into traffic, this and that. Majority of my clients have always called and said, hey, I'm going to be late. Is this okay? Of course. I always hold a little open area of, mm, making sure that if there's something comes up. It's one of the reasons why I try to get to work at the gym and everything like that 15 minutes early, because I know that anything might come up. I'd rather be 15 minutes early than be on time. It's a military thing. Sorry, there's my cat. You're going to hear him meow a little bit. I told you this is an edited kind of situation. I don't have a silent room or anything like that. So, anyways, um, it comes down to the idea of being responsible for the actions that you are willing to take, especially on my end. I'm willing to take that extra half hour to say, I know you may be late. Let's do this. Or call me because something come up. You got into an accident. I've been in plenty, not plenty of accidents, but in plenty of situations where I've been caught into the traffic and everything like that. And I've been part of accidents or I've been waiting on an accident and stuck in traffic for almost an hour. But what it really came down to was the idea of I was still willing to do what I had to do for them. And that's my job. I had to be accessible. I had to be able to be they had to be able to get in touch with me. I had to spare my time for them. That's part of my job. This is part of what I'm love doing is being able to say they need me. My ego is that big at times where I want people to trust in me. I want people to have me around them. I want people to know that they can trust the idea that when I guide them in this coaching session, that I'm giving them the complete honest word and experience and education to say, I know what I'm talking about, and if I don't, I will look it up. So my commitment to my clients has to be reliable. It has to be I have to be accountable for my actions. I have to be committed. I have to have responsibility to them. The problem comes in when it comes from the opposite end. Excuse me. So if for any reason I'm unable to do something with my clients, if I'm unable to reach them because of distance or because I'm stuck in traffic, if I'm traveling to them, or they're looking for me to be like, hey, you need to be here this week because something's going on and I need to talk and I need some guidance here. And look, my diet isn't working right and I think it might have to be changed. I have to be reliable. I have to be responsible for that. I have to be there for them. So I will do everything I possibly can to do it. When it comes to the client themselves, that also has to be on their side too. They have to be committed. They have to be accountable for their words and their actions, and they have to be reliable towards that. Like I said, a lot of these words are interchangeable. These terminologies, these terminologies are interchangeable, but yet they have a different definition to them. There's the level of terminology, I guess you want to say it that way. Any kind of level of anything is, hey, the highest level is this is the full commitment. If you just want to be down here at the beginning level and like, hey, I just want to give it a try, give me a week, give me 2 weeks on the schedule, and we'll go from there. If it doesn't work, then we'll let it be. But if you're wanting to really say, look, I know I need help, I know I need a guidance, I need a life coach to kind of give me direction and at least get me started, or I need someone to talk to, I'm I'm committed. Let's do this. Let's boom. get it going. And usually that's the way it works. Most people are starting out at that commitment. They'll give me an entire month of time. And then the second month comes along and they're like, I'm really enjoying it, or I really know I need it. It's working. It's starting to work. Can we just keep going with that commitment? Fine. You're way up there, and all of a sudden you start moving your way down a little bit, and that commitment starts a little less, and being reliable is like making excuses for something. And again, not to be hypocritical, I've done it. I hate myself for it when I do that, but I've done it. And it usually came down to my commitment towards my personal responsibilities. Uh, I need to get to the gym every day. Take 2 days off, get there, 5 days, 6 days a week, but at least take 1 or 2 days off. It doesn't work out with everything going on. I'd rather take my self commitment and put it to the side before I take the commitment towards my clients and not be accountable for them. So as the coach and my client as the coach, sorry, stumbling here. As the coach, I got to make sure that I'm professional, and I got to make sure that when I put something out there, my word, my actions, my commitment, my accountability always there. I do my very best, and as of this podcast, I got 37 weeks left of school, and I should hopefully completed my master's course. After that, I've been wanting to do my doctorate, but as if I commit myself to that, I'm going to not. I'm not going to do it. I can't make a promise to myself like that as much as I want to. But once I'm done with school, I'm able to commit so much more to the practice and the advertising and getting it out there that I'm hoping this becomes my life, my job. I work, I count school as work. So I have four jobs: school, my life coaching practice, which is number one other than school. I work at Planet Fitness at the gym, and I now work as a carekeeper, caretaker. It sounded like I was taking care of an animal. How stupid was I for that? A caretaker for an individual, and they have autism, and now I'm committed to helping that person. So again, there's a word, committed. I'm committed to that. So I made a promise. I made my word. I told that job that I will do this for them if they give me the chance. They gave me the chance, and now I'm doing it. So I have to keep my commitment, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing this on a Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning. So, all right. So we're going to take one more break. As you notice, this usually goes about 12 to 15 minutes before I take a break because of the way that I try to record this. Um, so we'll be right back and see you in a second.
You can now connect to the EOTB Eye of the Beholder website to get original art by Coach Tony D, the Red Bubble Art Store, and now connected, and now you can own an original art piece on multiple products, including shirts, phone and iPad covers, pet blankets, even bed covers. The EOTB is a proud sponsor of the Wellness Therapeutic Art Life Coaching practice. Together, we help promote and fund the future of therapeutics in a positive way. With your help, the EOTB and the WTAL coaching practice will expand to help guide those that are looking for a more positive way of taking control of their life. Scan the promo code or go to the www.wtalcoach.com and click on the embedded EOTB site. The owner of the EOTB and the WTAL coaching practice, Coach Tony, thank you for your support.
All right. Thank you for joining the WTAL podcast sessions. Um, we are we're talking about my commitment towards my clients and how I have to make sure my accountability, reliability, commitment, and responsibility is towards them when we are scheduling a session or if I'm traveling to them doing something online, and how I had to call or text one of my non-clients, a friend of mine that needed me, and they reached out and they knew that I was doing this, and this is a person that I was more than willing to help out because I know the situation and how stressful things could be. So I had to call her and say, "Hey, can't keep my commitment that we talked about because something else has come up," which is always reasonable when it comes down to it. But it's how often is it gonna happen? As a coach, I have to make sure it doesn't happen at all, if possible. But if it does happen, I have to limit it. I've even called one of my clients up, and it was like an hour before our commitment, our session. I was like, "Hey, I'm not gonna be able to make it. Something's come up. There's an accident on the highway. There's no way I'm going to make our session, or something's happened to my car, or something. It's life. Things happen." As a client, and I'm assuming this because honestly, the only time I've ever been a client towards anything like that was when I knew I needed help towards something. I know that sounds re- repetitive or reductive or whatever, because I've I have had to ask for help. Um, here comes a truth bomb. I'm not a very patient person. Um, I'm also not a very forgiving person either. Uh, you fucking hurt me. I don't forgive very easily. I really don't. I am not a very forgiving person, especially if you do it personally towards me, my family, or my kids. I mean, you fuck with my kids, that's it. So, but as a person that knows that has been through this situation on their own level, I've had to get help with anger. I've had to get help with my commitment towards people, um, and my commitment towards my relationships, and my commitment towards my kids. That I've had issues. I still have issues. I mean, your addictions, you don't get over your addictions. You're just able to control them. One of the reasons why I got into this was because I've learned from my own mistakes, and I want to help those that are kind of going through the same thing. But I digress. It's not about me. It's about the clients right now. So for my clients, I know life comes up, things come up. You really want to commit this, but something just isn't working out. Either I'm not giving you the right guidance and you don't feel it's working, which most people think, because in the beginning of any kind of sessions, or guidance and life coaching or meditation, yoga, whatever it may be, your brain wants to tell you you don't need this. It's all right. You don't need to do this. What did you do? This was a spur in a moment. This was a thing that someone said, "Hey, you should try." But what I would suggest is give it the chance. My So far, most of my clients have been very positive responses. Um, they've been able to look outside the box more often now. But when they come to their commitment, I have to believe and be trusted to trust them. When my clients tell me I'm going to be there at 3 o'clock, I schedule them to be here by 3 o'clock. But I also leave that little time opening for them to be here by 3:15, 3:20. I'm always willing to go over that hour to make sure that I'm committed to them. If they don't call me, reach out, say, "Hey, something's going on," then I'm going to reach out to them, say, "Is everything okay? We had an appointment today. Are you good?" Most of the time, they'll get back to me and say, "Shit, I forgot," or, "I didn't write it down. I just completely forgot," which it is what it is. But the ones that are committed tell me all the time, that they have to do this in order to believe themselves. They have to know that they're committed to something other than someone else or anything like that. They have to do it for themselves, which is great. That's that's the whole point of doing this, is to find your path back to who you used to be, who you want to be, and how you can benefit yourself. If you're not willing to make that commitment, you're not making it to me, you're making it to yourself. Or you're not making it to yourself if you don't commit. You can make all the promises in the world to me. You can make all the promises in the world to your kids, your mother, your father, your boyfriend and girlfriend, your significant other, however you want to address who your social circle are. But all you're doing is lying and not committing to yourself, if anything. How does that work out in a personal manner? No one's going to trust you. No one's going to believe that you're going to do something. You can give all the word you want, but if you're not going to follow through that action, you're not going to be trusted. People are going to see it. It may be once or twice that you can get away with it, but after third, fourth, fifth time, hopefully by the fifth time, they're more or less going to be like, I'm not even going to ask you for anything anymore because there's no way you're going to do it. But that's my personal opinion. Let's put it that way. That's my personal and professional opinion. But that doesn't mean that everyone else thinks that way. But as the client, I am supposed to be there to guide you through that. And I want you to trust me, to kind of work that into you by doing something for yourself. Once you can prove to yourself that you're able to do it and you're committed to doing it, you should be able to follow through. But as the client, I can't tell you what to do. It's you. On a professional level, I'm pissed. I'm like, hey, I just scheduled this. I'm changing my life in order to commit to you. I want the commitment back. That's the point of this whole thing. If you're not able to do it, then we need to readjust our relationship from professional and maybe just leave it personal if you're definitely a friend of mine, because as a friend, me and you are probably fucking perfect together, but I can't trust you to keep your professional word, which goes down a whole new path. I've been part of jobs and situations where I was promised things and then they couldn't keep that promise or commitment, not because they couldn't, because they didn't want to, because they didn't want to give me the advancement, because they knew they were going to get the work out of me. And once they got it out, that was it. Unfortunately, a lot of professions are that way, especially in the industrial field, and the commitment from upper managements and stuff like that can always only be taken by their word unless there is a document or something. I think I'm kind of like going a little bit slower here thinking, and I hate it right now because I'm trying to make sense of this in a way to make a sense to you. So let me just say this. If you're going to commit yourself to something, follow the hell through. Just follow through. Do your very best. If you can't do your very best, then you're not doing anything at all. We can all say, hey, I tried. Okay. At least I did that. Yes, at least you did that. But what more could you have done? I'm giving you, as your coach, I'm going to give you 100% of my attention, 100% of my time. You're paying me to make sure that I help you. That is my job. Professionally, that's what I need to do. Personally, I'm going to put that aside as much as possible, keep my bias to myself, and make sure that you and I are connected. You need to do the same thing. When you commit yourself to something, when you say, I promise something, you need to follow through the best way you can, even if that means that you have to make some sacrifices. That's what those mean. Commitment, promises, accountability, reliability, all those. It is needs to be done. As the client, you have the choice to say, yes, no, I'm not doing that. We need to find a different way. I'm uncomfortable doing that. I don't think that's going to work. But as your coach, I ask you to try to follow my process of communication, expression, and meditation. It's not for everyone, but at least give it a try. The very minimum, give it a try. At most, be committed to doing it and see how it works. There's a reason why it's the WTAL, the Wellness Therapeutic Art Life. It's wellness first. I want to make sure you are mentally and physically well, the best to my ability, and to be able to create a path for you where you're able to trust me as much as I can trust you for telling me what's going on. Expression, art, music, yoga, all that stuff that brings your body and your mind into the world. The meditation is something that brings you into calmness and lets you realize that the world is there and it has to be committed to, but you don't have to be overwhelmed by it. Take one step at a time. Know that the world is very positive in the overall big picture and that you are a good person. You may not be good to other people for some other reason, but there is good in you that needs to be put out there. So your commitment as a client, you're committed to me and I'm committed to you as your coach. The next section, we're going to take another break real quick. And when we return, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the personal side of stuff as well. Of as friends and family and everything like that, when you say something, you need to follow through as well. All right, we'll be right back. If I can get it there.
You can now connect to the EOTB Eye of the Beholder website to get original art by Coach Tony D, the Red Bubble Art Store, and now connected, and now you can own an original art piece on multiple products, including shirts, phone and iPad covers, pet blankets, even bed covers. The EOTB is a proud sponsor of the Wellness Therapeutic Art Life Coaching Practice. Together, we help promote and fund the future of therapeutics in a positive way. With your help, the EOTB and the WTAL coaching practice will expand to help guide those that are looking for a more positive way of taking control of their life. Scan the promo code or go to the www.wtalcoach.com and click on the embedded EOTB site. The owner of the EOTB and the WTAL coaching practice, Coach Tony, thank you for your support.
All right. Thank you for listening to the WTAL podcast sessions. This is going to be our last segment. So briefly, I covered my part of making sure I'm committed and my accountability, reliability, and my responsibility. And then in the second part, we talked about our clients. So now let's get into the idea of just being a decent person. um, if you're going to tell someone you're going to do something, do it. It really is that simple. This is now not just going to be a like, hey, I'm committed to you because you paid me as your coach. Because I may not know you as a friend, and as a friend, I'm always going to be there for you. But also at the same time, if you're going to pay me, I'm going to be professional with you, and I want you to be committed to it. If you and I are just friends, or you're part of an organization, or you're part of some kind of club, or some kind of you know entity out there that has to deal with helping others, you're going to say, hey, I'll be there to help with that. Be there. I'm trusting that you're going to be there. I'm going to trust that you're going to do the job that you said you're going to do. You're going to be committed to finishing that job. We're going to hold each other accountable for me providing something for you and you doing it. Or here's a good example. Friends ask you, hey, I need help, some help moving. If you tell this person you're going to help move, you better make sure that you're going to help that person move and not make excuses. But if that person says, hey, help me move and I can give you a few bucks or, help you out the next time you need it, that person that's saying they're going to give you a few bucks or going to help you out next time, you better make sure you're accountable for that promise, that action, or those words, because now you have to put your actions into it. It's a social norm to be responsible and accountable for what you say and do. One of the things here that I try not to do, and I hate even the idea of it, is talking politics. I I love politics. I'll tell you, I do like politics. I like the back and forth. I like the debates. I like the action of one side is giving you something that you may agree with, and so on and so on. What I don't like is the fucking lies. But they're politicians. They're going to lie. Now you as an adult has to make sure you are able to make sure that you're looking at it the right way. Which again falls into how the hell are you looking at something the right way when you have such different viewpoints? Okay, well, when you break into someone's house, and you break into my house, you may not leave. It's just that simple. If you break into someone's house and they shoot you, they have the right to shoot you because you took the action of trying to break into their house. If you hit me or you come after me, I have the right to defend myself. I am going to hurt you back. If for any reason whatsoever you have the belief of you have the right to take something from someone else, you better be ready for the actions of the other person that don't think you have the right to take anything from anyone. That's accountability. You made an action, the consequences are going to happen. You are now accountable for what you just did and for the person who just took that action. So you break into my house, or I should say, if you break into someone's house and they shoot you, that person who just shot you is now accountable for their action, and vice versa. You wanted something, you broke into someone's house, you took accountability for what is about to happen. You committed and everything like that to it. That's what's going to happen. And with one more aspect of that, if you are pro-choice, congratulations. I'll back you up. I I am not a pro-lifer. I give you your choice. You want to have something? You want to have a child? Have it. If you don't, then don't. One of my biggest things with me is, as much as it sounds marvelistic, I guess, I believe that there should be a population control. There is too many fucking people out there that are really not doing anything. And we're running out of food and blah, blah, blah. So, anyways, the commitment to this is the reality of the world. And politics always takes away from that reality of the world. But yet it contributes so much to it that we lose that reality. You have the right to be who you are. You have the absolute right to follow your path that you think is right. That's your commitment to yourself. That is your commitment to your path. You will be accountable for your actions. But you have no right at all, none, to tell someone else that they are not supposed to do what they think is right. Social norm says you don't murder someone. Your mentality, your physical or mental state may say, no, I have the right to do it because that's the way I feel. You have the right to feel that way, but it's not acceptable. Murder is murder. You should be accountable for that. But if someone wants to put up a rainbow flag, that's their problem, not yours. Someone doesn't like it, that's their problem, not yours. Until they take an action to harm something, then it becomes the action of accountability. If someone says, I'm never giving up my guns, you have every right. You are constitutionally in your bounds to say, fuck off, you're not taking my gun. But when you shoot that gun, you better make sure you're shooting it for a reason, because you're going to be accountable for that gun. You break into my house, you break into a store, and you think you have the right to do that, social norms, well, I guess I can't say that anymore. Um, the safety of my property or their property and everything like that, there's going to be actions that are going to take. So there's the extreme on that. All right. Politics are always the extreme. I don't care you're gay. I don't care you're straight. I don't care you're black. I don't care you're white. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what you do on your own personal platform. You do what it has to do in order to make you happy, as long as it's not harming others. There's the overall big step of this commitment, accountability, reliability, and responsibility. As your coach, I'm here to guide you and keep my commitment to you to make sure I get you on a better path the best way I can. That's my commitment. That's my word. That's my promise to you. As a client, your commitment is to make sure that you follow the guideline, the process. I don't want to say guidelines. The process of trying your best to make yourself better. You came to a life coach, not just me, any life coach, for a reason. Either curiosity, pressure, uh, something fun to do. The curiosity of saying or thinking like, I wonder how this would work if I tried it myself. There's all kinds of aspects and perspectives. But as a client, you have to be committed to yourself overall. If you're not committed to yourself and I'm committed to you as a coach, you're really not going to go anywhere. And the only thing it's doing is failing you and making us as a coach feel like we may not be going down the right way and we have to change something that we are committed to. I'm committed to the motto of communication, expression, and meditation, the wellness therapeutic art life. My coaching process is something I believe strongly in, and you need to do the same. So in order for that to work, we all have to be committed to each other and say that we're going to be better for ourselves. So there's today's WTAL podcast sessions. I want to thank you all for joining me and watching and listening. If you are able to share this, please do. If you're able to subscribe on the YouTube channel, please do. And everyone have a great week, good weekend coming up. And just remember, stay strong, not just for other people, but stay very strong for yourself and know your path is a good one. All right. I really appreciate it, everyone. Thank you for listening to the WTAL podcast sessions.